right, looks like we're in for a little change of pace. As you can see on the screen, we've got some movement in this next shot. In fact, we have a lot of movement, a lot of different exposures, a lot of different beer pours and liquid sloshing around everywhere. And I'm gonna kind of zero in on my composition because I could spend all day coming up with variations. And so what I thought I'd do instead is just give you the tools you need to create your own version of this. Pretty simple. Would have liked to have seen slightly different shooting setup, but we're gonna work with what we have. So let's dive in and get processing so we can start working. First up, just to show you how much is available, I don't even think I can get all the thumbnails to load up in the middle, but there's just a whole bunch of them. So I think the guys just had fun on set and let this thing fly. So what I want to do is take a couple choice selects and we're going to use those to create a quick composite. In chatting with Rob, he mentioned that we're not going to be worrying about the label for this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and create my top crop. I'm going to, whoops, I guess I have to go out here for this one. I'll expand the canvas once I get it into Photoshop. With that done, I want to go ahead and get it straight, of course. I'm not going to use keystoning because I don't want to introduce any distortions into the glass. I want to keep it fairly intact. It was just a little tilt on the camera, but we're looking straight across, so no keystoning is necessary. So with that done, I can see this one needs a little bit of highlight reduction. I'm gonna probably just be using this for the beer bottle only, maybe the front label, I'm not sure. And if I need to create some tone on the surface of the front of the glass, we can use that as well. Same story as always. We're going to take the threshold down. Got my dynamic range for the highlight. Don't think I need any shadow. I usually do my contrast in Photoshop, even though Capture has lovely contrast. I'll remember to do it in a few minutes. Gonna just select my 3 selects and I'll show you why I'm selecting them. I think I really like the dynamics of this pour. Some neat stuff happening over here. With this one, I'm gonna be using a little bit of this slosh. I'm not sure exactly. Like I said, there are tons of them to choose from. You know, stuff like this is really cool. You can take the top part of this and blend it with the bottom part of that. This one's great too. If you want more light in the bottom, there's tons to play with. But for now, I'll just show you some quick tricks to put all these together and start cranking. So, gonna get these processed. We're gonna flip over to Bridge. Same process as always. This is how I start all of my composites, unless I'm using some fancy smart object linked workflow, which we're not gonna be doing here. So I know this top one's gonna be for my bottle. We're going to call it bottle. That's gonna go up there. I'm going to actually go ahead and with, I know the wand tool, I should be using a path, but this is all about efficiency. So gonna do that and we'll, that looked kind of cool. We're almost done. I'm going to jump into this just so I can see it better and get rid of all that. Easy. Now I've got my bottle cut out and I've got this thing here. Alignment on this one's a little bit different. I think I only need to be worried about these 2 exposures. I imagine they're not going to be too far off. That's looking good. It's I'm probably going to be moving things around a bit because I really need to align with what's inside here and make those composite weld together. And you know, the funny thing is with this one, I'm actually going to worry about putting this piece on top of this piece like that, because what I'm going to be using is the interior light of my layer and not the whole thing. That's why I'm not too worried about the edge. So back to normal, but I just want to cut out for now. We're going to turn that off. See, we're just going to kind of blend those two together. For my main pour, pretty simple stuff. Thinking about how I want to cut this out, I can, you know, give myself just a really quick selection. I can be using the quick select tool or the wand. I think I want the wand because quick select sometimes is a little bit overly ambitious and makes things more difficult than they need to be. But with my wand, I've got a tolerance and I can just make quick work of all of this. So that's all I need for that. I'm not sure which mug I want to use. Let's go with this one and go ahead and complete this mask, just in case it's the one we want. If it's not, we can borrow this mask and apply it to the other one. So that looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and group these together, call it glass so I don't get lost. And we're gonna do an inverted mask, throw a background down, yep, just like that, and just like that. All right, with that done, I'm going to, since I've got a whole bunch of stuff happening, I'm gonna use a little trick I have and go filter, noise, median, set this to 1. It's gonna get rid of a whole bunch of stuff. See that? Preview. It's just getting rid of all my specs. It's a real old trick of mine from a long time ago, back before we had any of the refine edges or any of that stuff. Refine edge is great, but it doesn't get rid of those kind of black specks. So I just run a quick median if I need to. And that done, I'm just gonna take a quick look at what's happening. I probably should have done this as well. I'm gonna be using the interior of the other. So like I said, quick and dirty. Path obviously would be better here if you have the time, but we're just flying. Haha, I made straight lines. I know a lot of you are cringing when you watch this because you use paths on everything. So that and that and that. Cool. We're isolated. I'm going to swing down to the bottom and give myself a bit of trim. Some separation off the stand. Easy. So with that done, need to take a quick peek at what's happening here. I think I had a plan to see what I could do about merging these two exposures. I'm not sure if it's really what I want, but I'm going to try it anyway. See that? Just do kind of a blend. I don't know why I wanted to do that. It's like I just wanted a lower level in the beer, as though it was filling up rather than already filled. Like I said, there's so many different exposures, so many different combinations you can do with this image. Feel free to make as many combos as you can. Once you've got your masks made and you've got your files processed, and you do that technique where you just go to Bridge and load them all up, you know, once you have some masks made, you can really just play around with them. If you're into layer comps, you can use your layer comps for easier access to the variations. What I'd like to do now is, and I don't even know that it needs to be done, but if you want to check it, you know, same old story. Go to a large diffusion heal tool, and you can clean up any edges that you want. There's plenty to clean up on this one. Not as much as some other ones, but you know, this kind of stuff, this kind of stuff. I like what's going on down here. This one definitely could use a little bit of love. You know, it's all about starting off your origin and your destination in the right place to get these sort of things to happen. Once I do it, it's aligned, so I can just pick right back up and hit the top of that line without creating all that stuff that normally happens. Things like this, that's kind of a personal call, you know, it's just there. Whether or not you want to remove it is really your own aesthetic. So you can see how easy it was to paint this thing, and looking at it again, you know, I'm digging this. So I'm just gonna come in with 100% flow brush and see what's available. Of course, if you remember, I did do a clone up here, right? And if I paint this, there's a good chance that my tones wouldn't match, but in this case, they do, because there's really no transition from one to the next, because I synced everything in Capture One. So they're all consistent as long as the light behind it was consistent. And, you know, I just flick my layer mask on and off to see what's happening in the one below. And I'm still really liking this. So I think I'm even just going to paint this away. I don't even need what's happening on the other one, although I like the cleanliness down there. So I'm gonna keep it, but I am gonna paint into this so I don't have to worry about the edge. Doing a little bit of creative masking. It's just, you know, blending things together until they work and not worrying about making a bunch of perfect edges. It's just about making a perfect composition, or, you know, an unnoticeable composite. And that's what I think I've done there. I can't see where this edge is. So I'm gonna move up to the bottle real fast. And all I wanna do with this is, I think, I wanna move this over a touch. It's about right there. And have a mask cut out that in hindsight, I don't even need, but we'll keep it on. I'm gonna put a mask inside a mask, and with a low flow brush, I'm gonna see what it looks like when I add a tiny bit of light to the interior of that bottle. I'm not a big fan, so what I think I'm gonna do instead, and this is something I do all the time, is I'm gonna get rid of that bottle. I'm gonna check out the number that I'm using for the bottle, which is 956. I'm going to come back into Capture, take my 956, I'm going to clone a variant, which means it's going to maintain all the settings of the previous, create a clone of that one. If I said new variant, then it would reset everything, but I want a clone variant. So I do that, and I'm going to take that variant, crank up the exposure, maybe, we don't need that. Pump the shadow just a hair, introduce some contrast back in for that flattening that I just created. That's what the before and after looks like. Opening this exposure on the bottle is going to introduce a lot of fun things to clean up, so enjoy doing that. I think that's looking good. It's going to give me a little bit more latitude than doing the same thing in Photoshop, and I just kind of like working this way sometimes, even if I don't have to. I'm going to take this guy, and I don't even need the whole thing. I just need this piece. My files are always lean and clean. So put that on difference, bring it over. I haven't done any scaling, so it'll fit right on, except for the fact that I've changed the exposure, so difference is gonna look a little wonky. I think that's close. Back to normal. And it doesn't really even have to line up perfectly, but it will probably. So inverted mask, and I'm just gonna take a brush, and we are going to gently add a little bit of shape to the interior. I don't want that. I do want this. Yep, just a little bit of something. It's better than that. All of that stuff in the beer was in shadow, so if I open that up with a curve, it would just kind of fall apart into noise. So that's why I used Capture One and a raw for the latitude. Cool, and I think that's all in a good place. I haven't done any color yet, so, and it's funny because I'm not seeing a whole lot of color that needs to be done, which is why I haven't done any yet. But let's go ahead and do some real fast. I'm gonna clean up my layers, and you know, for me, the only thing that needs a little bit of color work, because I already did color on the beer, I think this is looking real sexy. So all I want to do is pop my retouch layer down into there, because that's where it needs to be. You know, I'm a little bit sloppy on this one. There's not a whole lot of layers. So I'm just gonna add a bit more contrast to the glass. That might be a little too much. I'm not looking at anything other than the glass right now. And just the lower half, of course. Inverted, brush, and I'm just gonna paint a little bit of that light into here. You know, maybe you can look at, maybe I wanna look real quick at opening up the highlights in the foam, just because that's the sort of thing I do all the time. I'm just gonna do a highlight drag. I've got plenty of room to move. And this is almost just like a dodge layer, you know, just a different kind of curve on the dodge layer. And just pull a little life, whoa, into this. I had my flow turned off. There's all types of dodge and burning, and they're created by the type of curve you assign them to. So don't be afraid to experiment with different types of curves for different types of dodges, you know, and you can kind of just toggle things on and off to see where it needs a little bit of light, just like that. See? Kind of waking it up a tiny bit. Maybe we'll pull it up onto this surface there, so there's not this kind of dark transition that happens. I like that a whole lot. And if I feel like it, I can maybe, that is just so beautiful. I can maybe see whoa, what it's like to give that a little bit more of something. You know, I'm thinking just the interior part, because I want this exterior part to not get pushed too hard. Little adjustments like that can make a big difference. Not that that's necessarily making a big difference, but they can. So easy. That's how you do it. That's how I just kind of do some quick comps. I know it'd be kind of a challenge to make a whole bunch of masks like this one, but just use a wand, quick select tool. Don't spend all day pathing out all these variations for the slosh. Just give yourself a little bit of a break and whip through a few so you can just play around with how all of those get composited together. So hope you had fun with that one, and we're gonna save this thing out as always and move on to the next one.